X Pop 2K, a non-stop commercial-free flashback to the era of boy bands, flip phones, and MP3s. 2K on Channel 10. To hear this channel, activate your radio now. Call 844-711-8800 or head to SiriusXM.com/go to sign up quickly.
SiriusXM has over 100 extra channels on the SXM app, filled with ad-free music made for everything you do. Mashup channels, workout channels, channels for parties, or just chilling out and more. Expertly curated for any mood, occasion, or activity. Extra channels let you discover new music and enjoy even more variety from every decade and music style you love. Plus, you can watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows with SiriusXM Video. And you can do it all along with listening in your car as part of our music and entertainment plan. Right now, we're offering SiriusXM subscription plans for as low as $6 a month, plus fees and taxes. Call 844-711-8800 to find out more about these amazing offers.
They're the songs that redefined popular music and reshape our culture.
We gon' be alright.
Massive hits from Jay-Z, Notorious B.I.G., Eminem, Drake, and hundreds more.
Mississippi putting it down.
Hear them all on SiriusXM's Top 500 hip-hop tracks of all time throughout Black Music Month in the SXM app and for a limited time starting Friday on Channel 105. The association can be redefined with one simple announcement.
With the first pick, the San Antonio Spurs select.
Hear every franchise-shaping decision on SiriusXM.
Wembanyama, three-pointer number 4.
Listen to NBA Radio for interviews with the top prospects and analysis throughout the week.
To hear NBA Radio, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800 or visiting SiriusXM.com/go.
Game on SiriusXM. Finding your hometown broadcast on the SXM app is easy. Just click the favorite star and listen all season long. Showtime! MLB Network Radio is your home plate for baseball conversation and expert analysis. To listen to MLB Network Radio, activate your radio now. Call 844-711-8800 or head to SiriusXM.com/go to sign up quickly.
You deserve the best. With the SiriusXM Platinum VIP plan, you can unlock the ultimate listening experience in up to 2 cars and stream anywhere with 2 app logins. Enjoy our greatest content, opportunities for live VIP experiences, and prioritize customer care. Plus, get access to Stitcher Premium podcasts and over 5,000 audio and video concert recordings through nugs.net. Call 844-711-8800 and become a VIP. Offer details apply. Not available in Canada.
You just found the promised land. Hear rare interviews and performances. Live concerts.
Is there anybody alive out there?
Celebrity guest DJs.
This is Rob Lowe. Hey, baby, it's Little Steven here.
And more exclusives when listening to Bruce Springsteen's channel.
Welcome, Bruce Springsteen, to E Street Radio. You're home away from home. Great to be here.
To hear SiriusXM's E Street Radio, activate your radio now. Call 844-711-8800 or go to SiriusXM.com.
And reshape our culture.
We gon' be alright.
Massive hits from Jay-Z, Notorious B.I.G., Eminem, Drake, and hundreds more.
Mississippi putting it down.
Hear them all on SiriusXM's Top 500 hip-hop tracks of all time throughout Black Music Month in the SXM app and for a limited time starting Friday on Channel 105.
Donate your car today.
Vacation voucher not available in Oregon.
Introducing My Plan from Verizon. With My Plan, you pick only the perks you want and save on every one. So you get exactly what you want and only pay for what you need. And for a limited time only, get the amazing iPhone 14 Pro Max on us when you switch with Select Trade-In and Unlimited Plus. Act now and get iPhone 14 Pro Max with My Plan at your Verizon store today. Up to $1,599.99 device payment or full retail purchase with new smartphone line postpaid Unlimited Plus plan required. $200 Verizon e-gift card sent within 8 weeks with Portal. Plus up to $1,000 trade-in promo credit applied over 36 months. Promo credit ends if eligibility requirements are no longer met. 0% APR. Trading conditions apply.
Each day on SiriusXM NHL Network Radio.
Host Steve Julius invites former players on to cover every angle of the sport. He's bringing the analysis, excitement, and expert opinion hockey fans crave during the most pivotal moments of the season. Plus, don't miss his breakdown of the most reliable players every Tuesday until the champions are crowned. It's all happening on SiriusXM NHL Network Radio, Channel 91. Brought to you by Merchant One. Upgrade your point of sale technology today. Clover plus Merchant One. Better business solutions. And through the Hot Stove League, the place to follow baseball all year long is MLB Network Radio, Channel 89, and on the SXM app.
Bradley Beal, he's about one of the only people on the Phoenix Suns at this point. They have something like 5 players under contract right now. Just not even to get it done.
The MLB app. Your team, your players, your home for live streaming baseball.
And what a way to start.
Customize your home feed with your favorite team. Get personalized stats, highlights, stories, breaking news, and follow your team on game day. 3D replays and live streams add a new dimension to the game. Plus, free live streaming programming every day. The MLB app. Make it your home for all things baseball. Download for free from the App Store or Google Play.
Rondo Deportes, bonjour, vidi vidi vici, let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe. According to me, and people who love the universe, and that would be you too. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? As long as I don't have my music turned up too loud, I don't think you mind being my neighbor. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton Big C Sports sent you, as well as driving a fleet of Cadillac cars all across the universe. On a beautiful June 20th, 2023. You know we're closer to 2024. We're more close to 2024 than we are to 2023. Time flies when you're having fun. There's something about the number 6 I've been prophesied over, and I bought the winning lotto ticket tonight. Give that some praise. I said give it some praise, and I like this track. You gotta speak things into existence. Life is so amazing. I love saying you can follow Big C Sports Podcast on 27 podcast applications all across the universe. You can find us on Google, Alexa, Spotify, Speaker Podcast, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio Podcast, Castbox Podcast, Deezer Podcast, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, GeoSavan Podcast out of London, England, as well as India and Africa, Podtail, YouTube, Hubhopper, Stitcher Podcast, Radio Line, Repod Podcast, Luminary Podcast, Listen Notes, Podcast Wise, Podbay, Verbal Podcast, Podcast Odyssey, Podcast Republic, Good Pods, and the only one that used to scare me, but now it doesn't, is allfeeds.ai. Give that some praise because the robots are taking over. And they take over whenever they want to. You got to make sure we get the Teddy Pendergrass switch that says, turn them off! Just in case they don't want to turn off, if that makes sense to you. You can also follow Big C Sports Podcast, streaming OTT on 4 TV platforms all over the universe. Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon and Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV or you'll be sitting there looking at a still picture. I love paying homage to our Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. Rumor has it they will stand on their heads to get our veterans some help. You know anybody going through issues, and you don't have to be a veteran. Call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give them some praise because we all need somebody to lean on. I know I do. It's good having somebody to lean on, if that makes sense to you. I want to say, when you leaning on somebody, it can be a good thing. But if somebody's leaning on you because you didn't pay your debts, that can be a bad thing. I like to have a good thing. Give the good lean on some praise. We all need someone to lean on us But one time I saw a good old boy, he was leaning on somebody because he did not pay him his $5. I've seen guys get beat down for $5. I was saying to a friend of mine, I'm not saying his name, but he has a friend he was a big gambler down in Vegas, and he had a debt that went back like 8 years. And I guess they call him, they would table his bet or give him a marker. And so supposedly it grew to $400,000 what he owed the casinos, because they had given him markers because he was good for it. But sometimes people go up, and like the stock market, they may go down. But they don't always tell you when they're down. So they gave him the marker, and because he didn't pay it, they put a warrant out for his arrest. He got into a situation with his wife. I guess he had a mail order bride. One of those brides you can go on the internet to say, I think she'd be a good wife, and he picked her. She's like 50 years younger than him. But she was wondering how much longer he'd be around. He's in his 70s. So whatever happened, she called the police. He got arrested. And then they said, you have a bench warrant from Las Vegas. And now he's sitting his butt in the pokey. If that makes sense to you. 800 gambler. If you don't want to sit in the pokey next to that guy, a lot of people, they have issues gambling. They always tell you how great they are, but they don't pay you back if you lose all your money. And they say, I come with substantial risk. Anybody telling you, I come with substantial risk, you might want to run the other way. But he didn't run the other way, so now he's sitting in jail. True story. It's a shame. I don't know what's worse, that he ordered a mail order bride 50 years younger than him, or that he owed $400,000. Either way, he's going to pay the price. He's paying the price of praise. I'm going to pay the price. Married a woman 50 years younger than me. All he can do is take 3 or 4 naps a day. So she can go do her thing. I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations now, reparations forever. Give God some praise. God's the first one that asked for reparations. He told Moses, when he met Moses, he said, go down into Egypt and tell Pharaoh to let my people go. That's what he told him. And Moses said, who do I tell him sent me? And he said, tell him I am sent you. Well, don't you think God said the same thing to the President of the United States of America? He said, go back into history and look at the document for the Emancipation Proclamation, where the money was stolen from black Americans for helping us win the Civil War, and give them their reparations now. Give that some praise. That's what God is telling the President of the United States. It's ironic. Obviously, in the Biden household, the son had some issues that he had gotten away with for many, many moons. Biden signed the crime bill, and it put a lot of black men behind bars. And then those same black men's parents went out and voted for him. That's the way life works, doesn't it? And you can make amends, you can atone for that, not by signing Juneteenth as a national holiday, but signing reparations. Because reparations is like the gift in the side of the box. The Juneteenth holiday is like the packaging on the outside of the box. How would you feel if you open your present and on the inside of that box is nothing? It should have been reparations on the inside of that box. Give that some praise. Juneteenth without reparations is like getting a gift with no gift on the inside, only paper wrap. That's a good paper wrapping. You gotta do reparations now. Reparations forever. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. And God knows it's true, if that makes sense to you. I love telling you what I do with Big C Sports. My show is always different. I'm not like the others, if that makes sense to you. I produce my show. I direct the topics every day fresh, like the collard greens I was sucking on last night. Still got some in my teeth. I guess I gotta get some floss. But the greens taste so good. You ever have something that tastes so good, you don't want to stop sucking on it? I mean, if it tastes so good. What did Teddy Pendergrass say? He said, it's so good. Loving on some collard greens when collard greens love you back. That's the way it went down in my household, if that makes sense to you. But I always produce a show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all of the shows. I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter in our lives. I know I can. Laughter is good for the soul. And then the commercials are done. The stats provided, the storytelling, the play-by-play. What you're going to hear is the Major League Baseball saying Curry is going to be Curry up at the plate. The pitch, curveball, swung on, hit deep. Right field, back to the wall. Home run. I'm going to say hello to my little friends. And that's it. The girls love the long ball and men love to hit deep. And that's my story. And I'm sticking with it. I believe in. I upload the show. It goes out to 27 multiple podcast platforms all over the world, out of New York City, and then 4 TV platforms. Never miss a show. Just doing Big C Sports. Really do appreciate God's blessings for that. And I love to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, Comcast Spotlight, Effect TV. They're working on a commercial for Big C Sports, and they go, "It's time for Big C Sports!" And I remember saying, doesn't have to yell so loud. And they said, we use your voice, Curry. That's your voice, Curry. So, either way, I like having fun. I want to get at some praise. I also want to do what I always do in every show. I don't forget where I came from, if that makes sense to you. Love paying homage. I love paying homage the way I always do to my beautiful family legacy. And I'm going to say, for people, I want to make this statement really quickly because Juneteenth is a great holiday. It's a great celebration. It's actually a federal holiday, even though some banks don't honor it, because maybe they think if we honor Juneteenth, then they may want us to honor giving them the money, because Juneteenth is the day that slavery was announced to be ended in Texas. But the Emancipation Proclamation was to give every free black person 40 acres and a mule. And that didn't happen. So how do we have a party or a celebration for Juneteenth and then not give people what Lincoln said they should have, which is reparations? The rest is like window dressing. And you think about that the next time somebody gives you a gift. They give you a gift. It comes nicely paper wrapped, but there's nothing on the inside of that gift. If you bought something from the store and you get home and you open it and you look inside the box and you say, wait a minute, there's nothing inside but some wrapping paper. You would go back to that store and say, wait a minute, I bought a computer, it was shipped to my house, and when I opened it, there was just some wrapping paper. You would call customer service immediately, and you would ask them to do what? Repair the damages. You pay for something called free labor from 1619 to 1865, and when you got the Emancipation Proclamation was signed into law by executive order with President Abraham Lincoln, there was nothing but wrapping paper on the inside. Called Juneteenth. Called Lift Every Voice and Sing. If you're going to do right by people, you got to repair the damages. That's the one thing that needs to be corrected. We can't pretend that, that's a long time ago. You can't pretend that's a long time ago. A lot of people are dealing with things now based on what they did a long time ago. That's why I love saying reparations now and reparations forever. Give that some praise. We got to have that. If we don't do it, it's our fault. People are saying no reparations, no vote. I think good people will come together, especially if you sign Juneteenth into a federal holiday. How do you dare do that and not give people the reparations that President Abraham Lincoln set out for us to get? You can give that some praise. You don't just buy a box and put wrapping paper on it, but no gift on the inside. That's cruel. It's so cruel, but that's what's happened to black Americans. The descendants of chattel slavery, people all over the country celebrating Juneteenth. Yep, that's the day that slaves knew they were free. The America's biggest sin was ended. And they gave us a gift-wrapped box called Juneteenth holiday, but there was no money inside the box. And people are dancing in the streets. Hey, we just got a gift. We got a gift. Couldn't wait to open it. When they opened it, there was nothing inside. Because there's no reparations. The Marshall Plan that rebuilt Europe, they had money that did it. Money did it. Money and the willpower. The Homestead Act of 1862 gave over 276 million acres of land away for free to the United States white citizens. And even white citizens from Europe. The beautiful black people that helped defeat the Southern Confederate Army, gave us nothing. Black Americans saved the Union. Without Black Americans, the Union would have been defeated. And what did we get for that? The land and the money was given to the people that waged war on the United States of America at that time called the Union. They were Southern Confederates. So as much as I love the spirit behind Juneteenth, when I opened my box, it had no gift inside of it. But people say, wait a minute, that's a good idea. Buy people a gift, don't put anything in it, and you'll see how black people feel. That's the law. Never happened. We got to fix that. I mean, I think we got to fix that, and I want to give that some praise. I love paying homage to my beautiful family legacy. Got a shorter show tonight, and I love doing it this way because many sports programs, and I do what I feel my higher self tells me. I always love producing the show, and I thank my beautiful mother. On my mother's side, my great-grandmother called her Mama, a beautiful, loving, kind woman. Really do appreciate her. Always making sure lots of love in the family and lots of food in the belly. And then my beautiful great-grandfather called him Pop, former military man and former Negro League baseball player, known around his church buddies as making the best moonshine in the history of the universe. And for saying, boys, get out of that barn now. Because my brothers and I, we were usually in that barn getting something. We wanted to give some moonshine to the pigs. It made them sleep. If that makes sense to you. Sometimes boys can be managed. And then the real MacGyver can fix anything, planes, trains, and automobiles. And then my beautiful grandmother called her Muddia. Beautiful, loving, kind woman. She was an industrious person, a seer. She could oftentimes look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, their present, and their future. A lot of people have that. It's called intuition, or they call it mother's wisdom, and she still helps me to this day. My beautiful grandfather, Hezekiah, another wonderful person, always trying to be of help to people. He was also a seer, can look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, their present, and their future. And then I can always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. She started a Head Start program, a food program, and then also coached an all-boys Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe in an all-men's league. They were always trying to intimidate mama by playing James Brown. They say, this is a man's world. She say, hey, better be nothing without a woman or a girl. I remember that. And she went on to help win the championship anyway. In an all-men's league. Beautiful black woman, I think maybe the first black female coach to coach in an all-men's league in California and win a championship. That's why I love giving my mama praise. Always saying rise and shine. The best person I ever met in my life. In fact, at the church, everybody wanted Mrs. Curry's cooking. And at the restaurants, everybody wanted Mrs. Curry's cooking. And at home, everybody wanted mama's cooking. She'd often say, son, how many places you had? I said, curry for 3. Because I always had to eat. My brothers are big, and they didn't sometimes remember that I hadn't eaten yet. That makes sense, yeah. And then love my mama with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful father, I'm telling you, my grandfather on my father's side, his name was Albert Curry, a former pastor. He had 2 churches in Oakland. He built the 3rd church in Central California with his own hands. And then he owned 2 gas stations in Oakland, one on Bancroft, the other on Foothill. They were Shell stations. But he also owned 40 acres of land, like the Emancipation Proclamation, where I just told you. When you think about Juneteenth, it's empty without the Emancipation Proclamation. Because in honoring freedom and the contributions that black Americans made to this country, President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. And as a reward, he gave every black person 40 acres of the mule. Every black man. And when he was assassinated, President Andrew Johnson, he vetoed the bill. He was a bigot. He gave it to the Ku Klux Klan. Now, who in their right mind would want the Ku Klux Klan to ferret out payments? That's why we got to repair it. The dirt comes out in the wash. And just because somebody said, well, that was a long time ago, it doesn't mean they don't have to repair the damages. That's why President Biden's son is in trouble now because of something he did in the past. Now, if the court's going to hold him accountable for what he did in the past, then why not hold the country accountable for what they did in the past? Even Poe 45, he got indicted for what he did in the past. Reparations now, reparations forever. and give that some praise. We deserve that as Black Americans. I love talking about it. I know a lot of people, they just want to see who won the game. It's all fair and level work. And then my beautiful grandmother, Alberta Curry, working side by side with my granddaddy with the two churches in Oakland. And I'm telling you, there's something about when people work together. I was walking through her hallway one night, about 10 o'clock at night, and I was trying to get my reparations. I was trying to get them. And you know what happened? She touched me on my forehead. And she said, there's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak. And now Big C Sports Podcast is syndicated on 27 podcast applications all over the universe and 4 TV platforms. But she's spoken into existence. And I want to give that some praise. She could have sat back and said nothing, like a lot of times people do. But she's spoken into existence, and that's why, in my opinion, that's why I have the show today. Because people prayed over it. That's why I love giving praise. When you get prayed on, they say when praises go up, then blessings come down. And I think that's part of why I've had the chance to have a lot of things happen that were good. That were good for me. And I really do appreciate that. And I know that's part of my belief system. And I'm going to stick with that. I really do believe that. And then my beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot's chief mechanic, always making sure airplanes can fly high so we could all stay safe at night. My dad always saying, develop your mind to its highest extent. In fact, my father's the first one to tell me about the SR-71, the Blackbird that can fly from Los Angeles, California to Washington, D.C. in 1 hour and 8 minutes. Now those airplane engines are in museums all over the country. And could you imagine that technology existed? What if they put those engines on a 747 and the flight from LA to New York City would be about 2 hours, maybe even 3. But the technology exists. It's sitting in museums, if that makes sense to you. But really do appreciate my dad. In fact, in the Air Force, my father's roommate was the late Al Freeman Jr., who played the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in one of my favorite movies, Malcolm X, that was written and produced by the great Spike Lee and acted by my favorite actor, the great Denzel Washington. And I love the part where Denzel won an award. It was for Guess Who's Coming to Dinner with Katharine Hepburn. And when he met the family, they said, nice to meet you, young man. What do you do? And he said, King Kong ain't got nothing on me. And they gave him an award. I guess it was his training day, if that makes sense to you. Really do appreciate them. And then, I'm telling you, my beautiful brother Todd, with that bombastic voice, sound like thunder and lightning. When Todd would speak, you think I talk loud? My goodness, I love Todd with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Always saying go forward. A voracious reader. And it's just amazing how we talk so much politics in sports growing up, but one of our favorite movies was obviously Malcolm X. But then Pulp Fiction had its own shenanigans. And there was a thing that taught me about sports is when Vin Rames, Sam Jackson, John Travolta, and Bruce Willis had a scene, but it was Ben Rames talking to Bruce Willis. He said, your butt goes down in the 5th round of the fight. He said, say that. So Bruce Willis said, okay, my butt goes down in the 5th round. And he said, that stinging sensation you're feeling, well, that's just pride. Loving with you. And he told him about that stinging sensation. He said, in the 5th round, you're going to feel a slight sensation, a stinging sensation. He said, that's just pride. Pride never helps. It only hurts. And he told him, he said, look, pride. I think that's funny because it's real. And I see it in sports. I see it a lot of players being traded today. These beautiful athletes being traded to different cities by the guys who own them. Imagine if they own their own team. I mean, it's not a bad gig to get traded to make several $1 million a year. 10, 15, 20, 30, $40 million a year to play basketball. But that's the way love goes. All's fair in love and war. Love Todd with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. To my beautiful daughter, Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate, 2 degrees with honors in 3.5 years from a major university. To set up the very first interview for Big C Sports back at Salem Media. For the first time in the history of the United States of America, the NFL started broadcasting Monday Night Football on the Wall Street Business Network. It had never happened before. Normally they would go to ESPN, but they decided to go where those 2 Klingons were. 2 black men in the crew. You know, in Star Trek, the Klingons were black. Just so you didn't know. And they've been around longer than the Federation. Just a thought. Okay? All life began in Africa. But I tell you, she, amazing, she would also set up in college. Coaches would come to the West Coast and do work with Big C Sports. And one time playing soccer, she scored 6 goals in one game with her left foot. And she's right-footed. It's like Daisy with the kick. Daisy for the goal! 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 And she said, Daddy, why do you yell so loud? I guess I was born yelling loud. But I love her with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. You can be anything you want. As I ask you, I pray Isaiah 54:17 that no weapon formed against you will prosper. I pray that God gives you everything your heart desires. Always trust God and stay away from people who talk crap about people behind their back, because that's not something that pleases God. You can be anything, and I just love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College student, very smart, erudite, a good man. I pray Isaiah 54:17 that no weapon formed against you will prosper. That God will lift you to all of your highest desires and hopes and dreams. Malcolm helped me save trees. I used to always get newspapers and look up stats for the Big C Sports podcast. And one day Malcolm said, Dad, he said, why don't you just Google it? And a light bulb went off. And I've been Googling ever since, now on 27 podcast platforms and 4 TV platforms, soon to be 5. And one day Malcolm said, Dad, like I'm asking for the 100, I want to make Big C Sports a $1 billion corporation. That's a billion, like with a B, a billion. And I've been doing it. What Malcolm taught me, he said, Dad, you want to see Big C Sports on TV? And I said, sure. And he said, pick up the remote. He said, aim it at the TV, and you'll see your show come up. That's before it was even on the air. And now it's on 27 podcast platforms and 4 TV platforms, soon to be 5. He spoke it into existence before it appeared. It's like in Romans 4:17, where God says, speak things that be not, as though they were. Don't be like people who wait and see it, either lead, follow, or get out of the way. If God is for us, no one can be against us. It doesn't matter what you've been through. Sometimes God has to lighten your load, so people might get off the bus. Let them get off. The bus travels farther when they're off the bus. God can clear the fog. Malcolm taught me that. And that's why the things that are happening for Big C Sports this year is nothing that I haven't spoken about. And I want to give that praise. The power of speaking mixed with vibration. I love doing that. You know, I want to touch on something too. I love thanking Janie Har, the Associated Press. She wrote an article on Big C Sports and Reparations, the only sports podcaster in the universe. And she called about it, March 29, 2023. And I appreciate it. She also talked about President Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, California Governor Gavin Newsom, California Senator Stephen Bradford, and California Chair Member Camila Moore. I just want to give that some praise. A lot of people don't get that. In fact, I want to bring this up because it's important. The great Kim Mims sent me this morning. It's called California Reparations Task Force 16th meeting. It says, let's make history with the final report. You can join in person Thursday, June 29th, 2023 at 9 a.m. at the March Fong EU Secretary of State building in Sacramento, California. And I will be there. You can also check the Department of Justice website for meeting time and any further updates. The Department of Justice, not your church website, not your homeboy's website, not some news media website, but the Department of Justice. What do they say? When do we want justice? When do we want it? Now! They said, when do we want justice? When do we want it? Now! They said, what do we want? Justice! When do you want it? Reparations now! That's the Department of Justice website. It's oag.ca.gov/AB3121/meetings. That's not the Big C Sports website. That's the Department of Justice website. And I want to give them some praise because reparations are going to pass in California first. And I'm going to be the first podcaster that speaks about it before it happens, not just after. If that makes sense to you. You got to give Big C Sports some praise. Nobody else is talking about it. It's like a lot of our news brethren, especially our African-American, Black American news brethren, it's like when slavery was ended in 1863, a lot of people didn't know, and they didn't know in Texas because they were shucking and jiving waiting for someone to tell them. Tell it from the mountaintop, reparations now, reparations forever. But you gotta leave the forward and get out the way. You know why? Because the checks will not be televised. The checks will not be televised. Just like applying for Social Security, applying for insurance, health care, whatever it is. They don't always televise it to everybody. You got to make sure you understand what's going on, so you won't get left behind. If that makes sense to you, I know everybody has their own thoughts that somebody's gonna tell them something, and they even wrote a song about it. Can't nobody tell me nothing. If you remember that song, nobody can tell them nothing. And some people to this day, they still have their heads in the sand because they don't believe. Because of unbelief, Jesus could not do miracles. Tell it from the mountaintop. This is more than unbelief. I just gave you the Department of Justice website to pay attention for the meetings coming up for reparations. And I'll say it again. oag.ca.gov/AB3121/meetings. And I want to give that some praise. Just like the end of slavery was announced in Texas down in Galveston, it had already been abolished 2 years before. But a lot of little boys, they weren't paying attention. They weren't paying attention. They didn't know any better. I want to give a special shout out to an incredible person. She's an entertainer and model, goes by the name of Double O. She performed at the California Reparations Task Force meeting that I was co-MC with the inimitable Reverend Tony Pierce, President and CEO of the National Black Wall Street. But Double O is amazing. She's beautiful. She's intelligent. She has God's spirit inside of her. And when she sings, you can drop the mic because she will become a household name. And you can put that in the books. You heard it first on the BC Sports. And that's why I want to say, give us some praise. Give us some praise. Sometimes people can speak and rap like they're breathing. And that's what I love about life. When God puts that spirit on you, all you can do is give praise because people deserve their breakthrough. And I pray that Double O has a breakthrough and that she has it now. Tell it from the mountaintop that Double O is the best rapper in the history of the universe. That's my story and I'm sticking with it. I want to get on to some NBA, the 2023 NBA draft, the big board. There's a lot of people that have moved from team to team today in the NBA, but you got the 2023 NBA draft board, and I mean, everybody puts up a lot of fuss about who's going to get drafted out of college. And it's great to get drafted, but you got to take a grown man and put him out of work. You got to take a grown man and put him out of work. The finish line is in sight, and the 2023 NBA draft is now just days away. And to celebrate that, it's all over the place. And I also want to say, I want to thank Big C with all that wealth of knowledge over the years, like my great-granddaddy coming out of that barn with his church buddies, always saying you got to believe, saying let's get ready to rumble. I love rumbling. I love it. And like the top players coming out of the college draft, they have their dreams right in front of them. They want to make their dreams come true. And for a lot of people, they will. And I know everybody has their own thoughts about who the best players are. Victor Wembanyama, he's consensus number one by a lot of pundits who are out there looking at these draft boards. But Victor Wembanyama, he's out of France. He's a center. He's 7 feet 4 inches tall. Not that makes him great, but he has the potential to be great. Number 2, they're looking at Scoot Henderson. He's out of the G League, Ignite. He's a point guard at 6'2", has good moves, ball handling skills. There's Brandon Miller out of Alabama. He's a freshman. He's a small forward at 6'9", coming out of the SEC. We will see if that happens for him. And we have Amen Thompson out of Overtime Elite. He's a small forward at 6'6". And then Cam Whitmore out of Villanova. He's a freshman. He's a small forward, also stands 6'6". Asawar Thompson, Overtime Elite, small forward, stands 6'6". We will see if he can make some noise. We have Jarris Walker out of Houston, the Cougars. He's a freshman, and he's a power forward at 6'7". We'll see if he can make some noise if he gets chosen in the NBA. Number 8 is Anthony Black out of Arkansas, another SEC player. A freshman. The point guard stands 6'6". Taylor Hendricks, University of Central Florida. He's also a freshman. He's a power forward that stands at 6 feet 8. And then there's Grady Dick out of University of Kansas, a freshman. A small forward, also stands 6'6". So there's a lot of people that have this thought about who's going to be the best player to come out of college or to come out of high school or to come out of European basketball that's going to make some noise in the NBA. And everybody has their thoughts, and your opinion is just as good as my opinion. And that's what I love about having opinions. Everybody can have one. At the same time, when you think about these players, they have to put a grown man out of work. They got to put a grown man out of work. That's not always easy to do. And so when I look at some of the top NBA players of all time and how they get ranked based on different pundits, when I think about how complicated sports can be, you can look at people with names like LeBron James, of course, Michael Jordan, considered maybe the best basketball player ever. I still think it's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And then you have Bill Russell. But Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he's an NBA all-time scoring leader for... Hold on, Curry. Let me finish. For 2-point baskets, Kareem only shot 1 3 in his career. And he came out of high school before he got to the NBA. He came out of high school and then went to college at UCLA, scored about 3,600 points at UCLA. Had he been like LeBron James or Kobe Bryant, he would have gone right to the NBA. But when I think about these players over the years, you got people that think about Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, maybe even guys like Kevin Durant. But Durant hasn't been the same since his injury. He's still good, though. He's still a great player. But it's hard to say what NBA player was the best. Maybe Irvin Magic Johnson was the best. He played every position in a playoff game. So when you talk about debating, it's really not about debating. It's like celebrating. You have Shaquille O'Neal, arguably one of the best big men in the history of the NBA, on the court and a tycoon off the court. You have the great late Kobe Bryant, the Black Mamba, so many skills, and everybody has their own thoughts. They say he shot too much, but he never made a shot that he didn't take. And when they had the Lakers running back in the day, amazing. But then Michael Jordan, when you think about how good Michael Jordan was, 6 championships in 8 years, defensive player, offensive player, all-star player. He has a shoe named after him called Jordans. What if Spike Lee says it's got to be the shoes money? It's got to be the shoes. I would say make more commercial. I don't know if Michael could jump this height now, but I remember that commercial that he made with Spike Lee. It's got to be the shoes. So that's all you got to think about. It's got to be the shoes. But right now, with these new players coming in, they want to make these lists. You got guys that are legendary as far as guards. Chris Paul, who's still doing his thing. I think he's 38. Steve Nash, Allen Iverson. I'm not talking about practice. I'm talking about the game. I'm not talking about practice. You talk about practice? I'm talking about the game, not practice. The great Allen Iverson. But there's only one room for players at each position. So when people start saying who's the best ever, they're all the best. Because just the odds of making it to the NBA, you got to be very, very good. And so I don't want to be like a lot of shows that argue, oh, I can't believe you think that Kareem was better than LeBron James. I can't believe you think that Will Chamberlain was better than Bill Russell. I don't want to be that. That's disrespectful. They're all great. Give greatness some praise. Give greatness some praise. Give it praise, praise, praise. And when you say give them praise, tell it from the mountaintop that reparations now. We all need reparations. I think everybody has their own thoughts. But when you look at guys like Allen Iverson, I want to do more due diligence on this tomorrow. But guys like Allen Iverson, who never won a championship, but just a great athlete, played football in high school, a great athlete out of the DMV, and obviously he's on the list. I'll talk more about that list tomorrow. I got Scottie Pippen's on that list. It's kind of a shame what he's going through now with some of the snide remarks he's been made after the last dance. But it's all fair and level work. People don't know everything about those relationships. But that's what happens when you have men and their egos. Sometimes people just don't want to get along. You get Isaiah Thomas, who was left off of an Olympics team, should have never been left off. But sometimes you don't. If you rub people the wrong way, sometimes people find a way to get back because men can be very petty. And then as you get older in life, you realize, why were you petty? Petty people come from small-minded people, small-minded thinking. And it's great when people can make up. I've heard over the years when athletes talk about, oh, they couldn't have played back when I played. I mean, nowadays, if you take an NFL offensive lineman and go back to 1970, he might be 6 feet, 225 pounds. You take an NFL offensive lineman today, he's going to be about 6'4", about 320 pounds. And to have a guy that played in the 70s say, oh, they couldn't have played when I played, and you outweigh him by 120 pounds. I mean, it's just different. It's physics. You got the great Kawhi Leonard. I'll be talking about him tomorrow. The Claw hasn't been the same since the injuries for the Clippers. Doing his thing. Some people even put Nikola Jokic on the radar. Got a championship. Big skill man player. Not gonna knock him. Just want to see more consistency. That good old boy has, I'm telling you, he has a lot of skill in him. Got to get better on defense, though. I like Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's on them. You know, for Giannis, I like calling him the Greek king. I know mainstream like to call him another name that maybe they call their own kids when their kids come out of the womb. But to me, he's like a prince. A shining prince. Not what the mainstream medium calls him. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. And people say, oh, that's a compliment, you call somebody a freak. Okay, say that to the woman who delivers your child. Look at that freak. And see how she reacts to you. Oh, we're trying to use it in a complimentary way. Well, that's that. I mean, everybody has their own thoughts. You got Dwayne Wade in there. Obviously, he might be the most storied Miami Heat player ever because he's been great. And of course, they added players over the years that added to the legacy of what they were back in Miami before LeBron James showed up. And a lot of great things have happened for that Miami Heat franchise. Even though they got knocked out in their last two NBA Finals, they got there. They've been to the NBA Finals more recently than the Boston Celtics, the Eastern Conference most storied program. Because Miami lost to the Lakers, and they also lost to Denver in the finals. And so, no matter what, I want to give that some praise. They deserve it. They deserve it. I want to touch on something. Today's show is a little bit different. It's not going to be as long. But the NFL, you know how I say 800 gambler? Well, they even tell you, I come with substantial risk. If someone tells you they come with substantial risk, it's like sports dating. You get out there in them their internets and you see how many people you can get to take you and buy you a free meal or a free anything. And sometimes people laugh about how many guys will spend all their money on them, and then they go home to somebody else and let them have let them have some fun. If that makes sense to you. I want to tell you the NFL is letting people have fun, but they say you can only watch. Because the NFL is redoubling its efforts to reinforce the league's gambling policy to players in the wake of a rash of recent violations. All rookies now will be required to attend mandatory education sessions, and a group of league officials is making in-person visits to team facilities to emphasize and clarify what activities are prohibited among the rapid proliferation of sports gambling. To me, and I know I'm a little bit different, but it's like inviting a brothel into your house and telling your family members now and don't participate. They brought the brothel into your house and they said don't touch it. Who would want to touch a brothel anyway? That's like saying I want to buy some car tires, but I want the ones that already got 20,000 miles on them. But people think that going to a brothel in Vegas is fun, popular. I want to buy some new car tires, but I want some that already got 20,000 miles on them. People do what they want to do. And now they bring that element into the gaming and sports industry because of the money and their rules for gaming, the policy that the league will emphasize. There's 6 of them. Number 1, don't bet on the NFL if you are a player. If you're a player. Number 2, don't gamble at your team facility while traveling for a road game or staying at a hotel. That's number 2. Number 3, don't have someone bet for you. That's number 3. Don't have them bet for you. Number 4, this is a obvious one. Don't share team inside information. What does Sam Jackson say in Pulp Fiction? He said, "Excuse me, did I break your concentration?" The guy said, "What?" He said, "Say what again? Say it." So I'm going to tell you. Number 4, don't share team inside information. Some guys are going, why not? Number 5. This is if you were a player, but they want their fans to do it. So they bring the brothel inside the house. They say, don't you touch. That's for somebody else. It don't belong to you. Number 5. Don't enter a sports book during the NFL playing season. Even though we'll put the gaming logos on jerseys and marketing. Number 6. Don't play daily fantasy football. Oh man, now they really crossed the line. Well, that's what they're saying. They say the world has changed over the. Give me some praise by the way I introduced that. Give me some praise. I'm going to bring the brothel inside the house, but nobody can use it but my friends. The world has changed, though, over the last few years. NFL Executive Vice President Jeff Miller, the Vice President of Communications, Public Affairs, and Policy, said in a media availability today that the availability of our phones with a couple of touches and all of a sudden you can place a bet on many different things was not available a few years ago. And is available now. So sports gambling, like sports dating, has a great deal more presence in people's lives than it did just a few short years ago, when you had to have your bookies make the bets for you. Which means for us as a sports league, where integrity of the game is the highest single principle. The integrity is so high that we will bring a brothel into the house as long as you don't touch. And they're saying integrity has to be the highest single principle. Not to have so much integrity is not to allow it into the game in the first place. Integrity would mean don't bring the brothel into the house. That's what integrity is. Integrity is do not bring the brothel into the house. That would be integrity. But they're saying integrity is bring the brothel in the house so we can make the money, but you don't touch. We get the money, but not you. We have to be thoughtful and careful and scrutinize how we share information and educate people around the rules that govern it. And the rules that govern it is that the owners get the money. And the players get to look, but they can't touch. So the mere decision to schedule this session with reporters is itself noteworthy and can be seen as a reaction to recent events, as 5 NFL players were suspended and decisions handed down in April. I'm not going to get into who they are because they actually put their hand in the cookie jar that was brought into the house by the owner of the house and told those kids, I know these cookies smell good. I know they look good. But you can look, but don't touch. If it was so bad for the players, why do you bring it into the house in the first place? Why do you bring the brothel into the house in the first place if it's so bad for your business? That's like walking into a grocery store where you just want to get some food. You want to buy some meat so you can have the Big C burger. You got some ground beef. You got some 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, and onions on a sesame seed bun. And then you say, don't eat it. And I think that's what they've done. You get those cookies that you smell sometime walking through the mall. And they smell so good, but they say you can lick but don't touch. Well, they've created an open Pandora's box, but they get money off of it. And that's why if the players get punished for betting on sports, why would the league even allow it? You're having cookies, freshly baked cookies, brought into the house in front of those grown men and saying, oh my God, they smell good. Woo, they sure look good too. But don't touch. And that's what they're doing. I can touch, but you can't. As an owner, I can touch, but you as a player, you can't touch. You can lose your career if you eat what we brought into the house. And I think it's the same thing. They've laid in bed with the gaming industry, and they're enjoying all the benefits of being in bed. They're making the money, but they're telling the players, you can't make the money. And some people say, you knew the contract, you got into it. If it's about integrity, why would you even be affiliated with it? It's about money. Integrity, that's an oxymoron. It's about us. The gaming industry pays big. Those advertisers in the stadium, it pays a lot of money. But they're going to have to, they already know more players will succumb to the temptation. You don't believe that? Put some freshly baked cookies into a class full of teenagers or even adults, especially children, and say don't eat them. Just look at them and smell them, but don't touch them. And then you come in there, you got 5 cookies in your back pocket and 5 in your hand. I know that's possible because I've done it. You're hiding cookies in your back pocket like your mom can't see when you're walking away. Try to walk away backwards. But I think it's a shame. But that's all, that's grown folks. Grown folks do what they want to do, but it's hypocrisy. As I always tell you, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. People do what they want to do. Well, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber, you can call Lyft, you can call a taxi, you can sleep it off, you can walk it off. But the life you save might just be your own. Don't drink and drive. Don't drink and drive. Well, back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, he said, you float like a butterfly and you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, How can you lose? Let me see, I'm so pretty. I can't possibly be beat because all the Big C burgers make me light on my feet. That's why I float like a butterfly and I sting like a bee. I'm rumbling, always rumbling. My beautiful mother always says, there's no excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. If you know anybody going through that garbage, pick up the phone and call 911. Because people change when the police show up. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you, on every Big C Sports Show, I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super, fantastic day. In honor of the great President Abraham Lincoln, reparations now, reparations forever. Reparations now, reparations forever. Reparations now, reparations forever. What do we want? Reparations. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Reparations. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Reparations. When do we want it? Now. Have a super fantastic day.